If you've ever said, "Why do I love someone who keeps hurting me?" you might be trauma bonded. And a trauma bond is not love, it's a chemical addiction to a person and quite literally an emotional trap. So, I'm going to give you 5 signs that you might be trauma bonded and how to break free. Number 1, you make excuses for their behavior. So that might look like, oh, they're just having a bad day, or it's not that bad, or they had a rough childhood. But just know, abuse is a choice, not a mistake. Number 2, you feel like you can't live without them. And the reason you feel like you can't live without them, it goes back to that chemical addiction that you have to them. When you're trauma bonded, it rewires your brain to crave the very thing that is absolutely destroying you. Number 3, you start blaming yourself for the abuse that you're experiencing. You start to think things like, maybe if I just do better, they'll change. But I can promise you that there is no amount of love that can fix someone who is committed to destroying you. Number 4, you're stuck in this constant cycle of highs and lows, which is exactly what creates the trauma bond to begin with. One day they're charming and giving you little breadcrumbs of the person that you had in the beginning, and the next they're cold and cruel and treating you like you're the dirt under their feet. But you, however, are chasing the good times and the rare moments that you perceive as kindness. But those good moments never last. The cycle just continues over and over and over again. And number 5, you find yourself defending them to people that start showing concern for your situation. So you might tell friends or family, oh, it's not that bad, or you just don't understand. But deep down, you know they're right. Trust me, I've been there. I had people telling me to run the other way a few months into the relationship, and I didn't listen. And it took me 4 times of leaving and going back to leave for the final time. So you realize you're trauma bonded to a person. What do you do now? Well, first and foremost, you're doing one of the steps that I'm going to give you, which is educating yourself on a trauma bond. Knowledge is power. The more you understand what you're experiencing, the less power they have over you. Another step you can take, and it's the biggest step that you'll take in this situation and the most courageous, which is creating a safety plan and leaving safely and going no contact as soon as you possibly can. And if you can't go completely no contact because of children, you go low contact. But blocking them, removing reminders of them, and creating a space to think clearly, because you have this fog over you right now. And the more you can remove their access to you, the faster you can start to heal. Because you cannot heal if you're still in contact with them, because they're going to keep you in that cycle as long as you give them access to you. Another step you can take is leaning on anyone who could be a support system to you. Now, I know in abusive situations, they thrive on isolation. And a lot of times victims end up being isolated from their support systems. And because the narcissist creates strains in those relationships that were once supportive, you now feel completely alone and isolated in this. But reach out to someone who you know will be supportive and understand what you're going through. And if you don't have that, feel free to reach out to me on here. I will be more than happy to be that support for you. And I know there are many others on here that would be as well. And just remember, healing starts with small baby steps. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a constant journey. You are forever healing once you have experienced the abuse from a narcissistic relationship. But things like therapy or life coaching, journaling, starting to do things that you weren't allowed to do in the relationship, rediscovering your passions, and getting to know yourself again are all going to contribute to your healing journey. And when you start to feel like you're romanticizing the narcissist, just remind yourself that isn't love. Love isn't supposed to hurt or make you question your self-worth. And love certainly doesn't make you feel like you're walking on eggshells on a daily basis. I do have a trauma bond recovery journal that I published that is a survivor's roadmap to healing. You can check it out. I created this journal from my own experience of breaking a trauma bond. And it's a guide that I wish I had when I was stuck trying to break it. So I hope it serves you in your healing journey and helps you take that first step toward freedom.